Hello, hi everyone, good evening. Okay, let me just set up the agenda for today. I'll give you a walkthrough of a case study, a proper project that we'll be implementing, and we'll be seeing how exactly a data analyst works on a real life project. What are the steps he or her follow? And finally, how can we incorporate? We have been hearing a lot about AI, Copilot, and all of these right now in the industry. So how can one become an AI-enabled data analyst by using the normal tools that a data analyst uses, along with the new exposure of AI Copilot capabilities coming as an integration with a lot of data analysis too. So I'll give you a case study walkthrough, and at the end of this, if you are able to complete that project on your own, this is a very good project that you can also add in your resume as well.
And a very important announcement for all the aspiring data analysts. I know you all were waiting for our new batch of data analyst bootcamp very eagerly. And finally, the wait is over because on Grow Data Skills, we have recently launched our Data Analyst 3.0 bootcamp with few really amazing advancements because the data analyst spectrum skill set has changed a lot, specifically after the introduction and the boom of AI. And that is the reason we have included these demanding and booming tech stack in our bootcamp, like Azure, how to do the data analytics on Azure cloud, AI and Copilot, like how you will be using the AI as a data analyst in your day-to-day job activities, how you will be creating the AI powered dashboard, Excel, and lot more things. So the bootcamp has been launched and the live classes are going to start from the 20th of July 2024. And this is open for all. No prerequisite are required, no basic programming SQL kind of understanding are required. Doesn't matter what kind of background you are coming for. And I have been saying this, the data analyst profile is the most easiest way to get into the data analytics plus the IT industry. So if you are coming from non-tech, sales background, BCom, BA, any kind of background, just get into this bootcamp. And in this 3 months of bootcamp, you will be learning everything from basic to advanced. So link has been given in the description, or you can visit www.growdataskills.com. And for my YouTube family and for first 50 users, we are running the exclusive discount offer, and you can use a code first50 to get this amazing offer. So hurry up and enroll really fast because there will be limited number of seats in this bootcamp. All these data analyst related skills and tech stack we will be learning in the live classes, and we will be having the live doubt session after the classes itself. And the best part of this bootcamp is the industry level of project which will solidify your portfolio, and with the help of this thing you can crack your dream job in the data analyst role very easily. So we have made this quality bootcamp really affordable for you. And recently one of our alumni has bagged 2.17 CR job offer from the Walmart USA, and many other success stories on your screen. So enroll right now if you also want to do the same.
So I have taken a data set. Let me just show you the data set. So a very common example of a data analyst project, which would be something around supply chain. Okay. Like for example, Amazon. Amazon works on a supply chain. You are able to order the product and you are able to get it delivered on your doorstep. The reason is there is a complete supply chain that runs in the background, which Amazon manages. Okay. But like I said, any good platform or any platform which is data dependent would always collect the data, and that data will be utilized by the data analyst to come up with the suggestions. For example, if Amazon runs a sale in a particular month, then the results of those sales will be in the form of such data, which a data analyst would go ahead and analyze in terms of, since we had a sale in particular month, did it result in a particular revenue that we were expecting? If not, what were the reasons because of which we couldn't have this much of sale? Which particular area more people are buying? Which kind of products people are buying more? Which is particular gender, which is more gender, age? All of these would be different criterias on the basis of which a data analyst would analyze the data. And finally, they would come up and tell that, see, we organized a sale. The intention was to increase our revenue by this much percentage. Now, this is my analysis based on the sales data that has been generated. Here we performed good, here we did not perform good, and these are the reasons because of which we couldn't perform good. So that now the company, whenever the company next time plans to roll out a new sale, they would then take these points into account and then lead to more and more revenue generation. That is just a sample use case that I have just showed you in terms of a particular company and how a data analyst will help in that company to help increase the revenue. Okay, so let's say this is my data. This is a publicly available data set that I have downloaded, around 31,000 rows. Try to bring a bigger data set here. Now, as a data analyst, let me just give you a walkthrough of how a data analyst works. So if I am a data analyst working at a particular company, the first step would be requirement gathering. Let's say I'm working for a client, or if I'm working at a product-based company, internally I would get a requirement. A requirement would be in the form of, this is the problem statement and this is the type of data. Now you need to help visualize, analyze that particular data. Now the first step is to understand what was the problem statement. What exactly am I trying to solve? If I don't understand that, I cannot move forward. And secondly, what type of data I am getting, whether it is in terms of it's in the form of Excel data, it is stored in the form of a database, what time I'm getting the data, what is the size of the data. All of these questions needs to be answered on the first step of any data analysis portfolio. Okay, so let's say this is my data, and what is told to me is this is particular data of a particular store. Okay, and you have the details of the products that company sells, the amount, the shipment category, whether it got delivered, whether it got refunded, different channels through which the particular store sells, like Myntra, Amazon, etc. And finally, based on this particular store sales, you need to come up with the analysis which the company will be using to increase its sales for the next year. Okay, so that was the problem statement, and I was given this particular data set, let's say. Okay, now after understanding the problem statement, as a data analyst, now I will start working. Okay, the first step of any data analysis project would be cleaning and transforming the data. Okay, let me just show you. Okay, I have named the sheet as clean because I've already performed these steps. Now, what does data cleaning means? Data cleaning means the data that you have received, you need to check whether the data is correct or not. Okay, what does incorrect data means? Incorrect data can be of different types. Like for example, my data can have empty values. Okay, we call it null, or in a very generic term, data can have empty values. Secondly, data can have duplicate values. Like there might be 2 times entry of the same value. Now, you might argue and ask me that why do we need to clean the data? You will be able to analyze the data even if you don't clean the data. But there would be a difference in terms of what is your final output. A cleaned and a transformed data will have better results after your analysis. While if you don't clean the data, if you don't perform the necessary transformations, you will still be able to do the analysis, but I'm not sure how correct that analysis would be. That is why the initial stage is data cleaning and transformations. Now, as a data analyst, we learn a lot of tools. We learn Python, we learn SQL, we learn Excel, we learn Power BI. Now, all of these tools can individually be used to clean the data or can be combined also. Like a project can be a combination of Python and Power BI. A project can be a combination of SQL, Excel, and Power BI. Now, it totally depends upon the use case in terms of, let's say you want to clean the data using SQL, you want to transform the data into Excel only, and you want to finally visualize it in Power BI. So I am just showing you one tool today in the interest of time, but just understand in terms of here what you can do similar things, where generally you can do similar things across other tools also. That is why knowing all of the tools becomes very important as a data analyst. Okay, so now I have the data. What I'll do is I'll try to clean the data, check whether there are any blank values. I will check whether there are any duplicate values. Then I will check whether my data makes sense or not. Okay, what does that mean? Let me show you. So when I click on channel, you will see there is a spelling error. There is one channel named Amazon and there is another channel that name says Aminazon. It's clear that there's nothing like Aminazon. It's very obvious that while entering this data, there would have been any particular kind of entering mistake or a spelling mistake. Similarly, you'll see there is Mintra and then there is Minintra. Okay, such kind of things that you see in your data, if you see in your data, it means that the data is wrong. So you clean the data and you also check whether your data makes sense or not. This initial level of time that you spend to analyze your data will help you a lot to understand exactly what is there in the data and finally come up with something which is required at the end. Okay, so I will clean the data in Excel. What I'll do is, let's say I want to check whether there are any blank values. So whenever there are any blank values, it would show up here. Like there is a blank. There are no blank values right now, so it doesn't show up here. Similarly, I can select all and then go ahead and remove any kind of duplicates if there are there in my data. Like for example, in this particular column, what I would want to do is rather than Minintra, which is there, I would just replace Minintra with Mintra so that there are no Minintra and Mintra. There is only one Mintra that is there in my column. Okay, these are all what? These are your steps that you follow as part of data cleaning and data transformation. Now, second step is data transformation. Data transformation here means, let me just show you. Like for example, there is a date column. Okay, dates can be, if you see here, date can be in January, February, March, April. There can be so many dates. Date means the day or the date on which someone bought the particular product. Okay. For my analysis, I don't want to go into very deep of what was the date. Rather, I'm only interested in the month part of it. So that at the end, I'll be able to understand, okay, January there were less sales, February there were more sales, etc. Okay. So my analysis would be enough if I have the month name rather than the date name. Okay. That is something even that can come from in the form of a requirement also, or that can come in the form of your own sincerity when you understand the data. Okay. So now what will you do? In Excel, we can directly extract the month from a particular date. Okay. The formula I've already written here that you can extract the month part of it from this particular date. Now, after we execute this, what happens is it has extracted the month December from it and it has created a new column called month. Okay. This is what? This is a kind of a transformation. Transformation means that you are trying to create a new column. You're trying to change an existing column. You are using a formula to create something new in the column. Now, how do you know you need to do that? It can come in the form of a requirement or it can come in your own personal analysis also. Now, second example of transformation is there is a column called age. Okay, now you see there are age values starting from 18 and going till 78, which means there can be 18, 19, 20, etc., till 78. There are so many different values for age. Okay. I do not want to go into very deep of exactly what was the age. Rather, if I can have three categories that are teenager, then adult, and then senior. Like for example, if you come and tell me there are 100 students or there are 200 people who have purchased things, I might not be interested in the age of each and every 200 person you are talking about. Rather, out of those 200 students, I will just say, tell me how many are seniors, tell me how many are adults, and tell me how many are teenagers. Now, by grouping this data into three major categories, I have relieved myself from going into exact numbers of what age value was. This is one of the very common steps that data analysts use to actually categorize the data so that they don't have to go into very deep of exact values. Now, what is this? I have transformed my data. Okay, now how I have created this? Again, you can just click here and you'll get the formula. I have just used a condition that if I have just put up the condition that if my age is less than 30, teenager, greater than 30, adult, and then greater than 50, senior. I've just put up these conditions. Conditions of 30 and 50. People lesser than 30 will be teenager in my definition. 30 to 50 will be adults and 50 greater than 50 would be seniors. So now basis on this, I was able to create a new column. One second. I was able to create a new column and now you can see in this particular column, there are only three categories. Those three categories are adult, senior, and teenager. Okay. So now this is again what? This is a transformation, a change that I have done in my data. Now I don't need this age column and I don't need this date column because using these columns, I have created new columns which I will be using in my analysis. Okay. Similarly, let's say in my data, there is only city column. Okay. While there is a separate table in which I would have the state column. Now, what I would need is I need to join these two tables so that I can bring for each city, what is the state and all of these. Okay. Now, all of these would require a lot of in-depth Excel skills. You would be seeing I'm using formulas, I'm using lookups, I'm using a lot of these things. Okay, not going into very deep, just explaining on a high level so that if you have to put this project in your resume, you should be able to understand how I have implemented this. Okay, the intention is to tell you step by step process. I don't want to go directly to the dashboard, and then we'll move on to the AI side of it. So we need to clean and transform the data as a data analyst. And for that, we would be using tools like either Python and SQL. I have shown you Excel. Similarly, you can do that in Power BI also. Now, this is just the first step. Now comes the second part, which is you have cleaned the data, you have transformed the data. Now is where your analysis starts. Now, for the analysis, you always need to have this question that what are my KPIs? Okay, again repeating, what are my KPIs? KPI, the full form is key performance indicator. So for a particular product, for a particular project, for a particular use case, or anything that you are working on, key performance indicator, as the name suggests, is what are those important what are those important formulas, columns, or important part of that data which will help me to analyze. For example, there are literally how many there are these many columns starting from A till T. You see, there are so many columns. I necessarily do not need all of these columns in my analysis, in my dashboard, in my visualization that I would create. Now, which columns I need? Or maybe I would need a formula that sums the column or takes multiple columns into account and creates something out of it. Okay, that is also possible. All of these would be a part of your KPIs. Very, very important jargon when it comes to data analysis portfolio, KPIs. So you need to have an understanding of what are the KPIs. Like for example, I'm interested in total count, total orders. I need to understand which gender bought what things. All of these are what? These are all the KPIs of your business, of your project, of your case study. You clean the data, you transform the data, you have an understanding of what are the KPIs. Now you just need to go ahead and create visuals that represent those KPI. Okay. Now what it means is this is my data. I have my data prepared. Okay. I'm just talking in very layman terms. My data is prepared for the analysis. I know what I need to analyze. So what I'll do is I will use my Excel skills to finally go ahead and create something which looks like this. Don't just get panicked in terms of how I created this. I'll show you all how I created this. But eventually what you see here is an annual report that I generated from that data using very simple Excel visualization, which shows each and every KPIs in the form of different chart. Like for example, this particular chart shows me that out of men and women, how much percentage men are buying things and how much percentage women are buying things. In this particular chart, I see that out of total products, 92% have been delivered, 2% have been refunded, 3% has been cancelled. So I'm able to understand the distribution of the order status. In this particular visual, I'm able to see how much is the contribution of each channel. Like Amazon is the maximum. 35% of the sale is going from Amazon, then in Myntra, Flipkart, etc., etc. So these are what? These are my KPIs that I need to have an understanding of men versus women. I need to have an understanding of order status distribution. Now, what I will do is I will create this visual from my prepared data. One by one, I have created these visuals. If you can see in all of these sheets, I'll just give you a walkthrough. That one by one, I have taken the data, I have created the visual. Then taken the data, created the visual. Taken the data, created the visual. And finally, what I have done is, since I have created all the visuals which were necessary and important for my dashboard, I have copy pasted all of those visuals into one place so that then I can present this into my company or to my client saying that, okay, this was what you gave me was this. Okay, what you gave me was this. Okay, and what you wanted was an understanding of how you performed in terms of sale. And as a data analyst, my final product would be something looking like this, which not only showcases the data, but also showcases it in the form of visuals. Okay, visualization is a very important skill when it comes to a data analyst portfolio. So you are able to create visuals from the data which was given to you based on your understanding of the KPIs in terms of what they want to see from the data. Data contains hundreds of things, okay? But out of those hundreds of things, I am interested to get the details of these 6, 7 things. Those will be my KPIs. Okay, so that is how if you take my word, Excel is one of the most easiest tool to perform data analysis, and that is the reason I have selected this tool for this particular demo, so that I can showcase you in this particular span of time that how I created this. Okay, so now let's say this is my prepared data. Okay, I'll just show you one example of how you can do that manually, and now finally how we can do that by using AI. Okay, I'll show you both the things, and I'll show you how the output would be similar if you do it on your own or if you ask AI to do it for you. So this is my first visual. What I want to understand is I want to create a chart which shows me that for every month, what has been the order and what has been the sale. Okay. Now I want to see this. Someone comes and tells me, give me the description of the orders and the sale for every month. Now, just by seeing this data, you do not have the direct answer to that question, right? So what you need is in Python, you need, in Excel, you need something which is called a pivot table. Okay, just hang on for a while. It's very easy to create, and it's more easy when you ask AI to create it. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just select this table, go to insert, say I want to create a pivot table. Okay, and I'll say this and create a pivot table in a new sheet. Okay, so it has created a new sheet, and now I can go ahead and create that table. What was my ask? My ask was I need months, I need count of sum, and I need sum of amount and count of order ID. Okay, so what I need is month. I will drag the month in rows. Just by drag and drop, pivot table gets created. It's that easy. Okay, now what I need is I need the sum of amount. Okay, so in amount, I say sum of amount. And then I have order ID. I'll bring this order ID also here. You see, I created a table from an already existing table. All the calculations of mathematics of how it is happening is given to Excel. I don't have to worry about that. I just drag the month column here. I drag the amount and order ID column here so that it creates something like this. This in Excel terminology is called a pivot chart. Okay, so you created this pivot chart, very easy to create just by drag and drop. Now what you can do is you go to insert, and I want to create a graph from this data. Now you have so many options of creating the chart. Like for example, if you see here, there are so many options of chart. I want to create a combinational chart because I want to show both. So I'll just click on OK, and it creates a chart for me. Okay, this is exactly what I have done before also. Like I said, in Excel, creating a pivot chart, which is important for your analysis, and then creating a visual from pivot chart is again very, very easy. Okay, so what you did is you took you took the entire data, you created the pivot chart, and from this pivot table, you created this pivot chart. Similarly, I have done this for 5 different visuals. Here I wanted for every men and women, which is gender, what is the sum of amount? Okay, just dragging and dropping, that's it. Here what I've done is for each of the different types of delivery, give me the count of order ID. Okay, and similarly, I've created 4, 5 metrics to get this. Okay, now for the people who do not understand Excel, they would be thinking that this is so tough. Believe me, it is not. It's just that you're seeing it for the first time, so it might look a bit heavy on understanding. Okay, now is where AI comes into picture. Now, just a disclaimer, folks, don't think that I don't need to learn all of these things. I just can use the AI or Copilot capabilities and get all of these things. I will tell you why not. Okay. AI will help you to create and do all of these things. There is no doubt to that. And that is the power of AI. Okay. But how will you validate that whatever you have asked AI to do, whether it has done it correctly or not? That is one thing. Secondly, AI depends upon the results which AI gives you depends upon your questions. Okay. There is a different area itself, which is called prompt engineering. Not going into very deep of that. But if I tell you that get me this visual, okay, just you don't have any understanding of Excel, and I tell you, give me this visual, which gives me the top 10 states based on the amount column. Okay. So whatever I said you will go and tell AI that create a visual which gives the top 10 states based on the amount column. AI will create something from that. But it can happen that what you asked is not accurately understood by AI. Okay. Or what it created was not exactly what you expected. Okay. And that is the reason, just a disclaimer again, a lot of people ask me this question that just by knowing an AI and Copilot capabilities inside these data analysis tool will make me a data analyst. No. Just understand these are a package deal. It's not like know only this and not know this. This is foundational. You need to understand Excel end to end. You need to understand pivot tables end to end. You need to understand Excel is a very easy tool. Believe me, if you want to learn things, data analysis skill sets are very, very easy to understand. But you need to know those and then only start using AI. Do not take the opposite path that AI is anyways helping me to create visual, AI is anyways helping me to create the entire dashboard. Why do I need to understand the fundamentals? If you do not understand the fundamentals, you would never be sure of what it has created and whether it is correct or not. And you can never have the confidence to go and present this dashboard to your manager or your client. Okay, that is why knowing how to create this is should be a first step, and then how to use AI to do these things more easily, more faster way is something that I'll just show you. Okay. So what I did is I created this particular pivot table, right? I firstly managed to create a manual pivot table. Then I selected this table and I created this chart. Okay. Now let me go back and now show you how you can use AI in this particular project and get the same thing without even doing the steps that I followed. So firstly, I'll select this data, and on top you'll see two things. One is analyze data and one is Copilot. For us, analyze data would be something that we want to do. So I'll click on this. It will just take maybe 30 seconds maximum because it is actually analyzing your data. It's like you are telling that system or you are telling AI that please go through my data. Okay, I have a lot of questions to ask from you, but before that, I would want you to go through my data. So it is just going through your data. Okay. After it goes through your data, I will ask questions. Now, what do you see here? You see suggestions have already started coming in. Okay. AI or Copilot or overall, let me just say AI every time, is very strong enough or is very, I would say, talented enough to go through your data. And now it comes with your own suggestions. Like, would you be interested to know the index by size and channel? Would you be interested to know index by date and age group? So it always comes with 4 or 5 suggestions. Okay. It might be useful for you. It might not be useful for you. It's okay. Okay. Now, if you click here, this is where you can ask a question about your data. Okay. This is where, my friends, the power of data analysis has grown exponentially. So what clients used to do with you, what your manager used to do with you, now you can get it done with the use of AI. Someone is asking me questions about my data. If I don't have the very deep understanding of that, I'll just go and ask the same question to AI that please analyze my data and give me the results. But again, same thing. If I myself don't know my data, maybe my questions are not accurate or maybe the results are not accurate and I would never know that. So what I want is, let me just click and you see, firstly, there are some suggestions it always gives you. Okay, like for example, if I click on this, average age for gender excluding men. Okay, so there are only two genders. So it is saying that the average age is this for women. Okay, let me just cross this. Second suggestion it is giving you is percentage distribution of status. Let me just click it. It is telling you on its own that this is the distribution percentage of different status value. You want something more than that? Go ahead and type it here. Okay, let me just cross it again. Now it is telling you insights for age. Let me click this. I have not even written anything yet. I am just going with the suggestions it has already given me. Okay. Now you need to have a stable internet connection. You need to have all of these enabled into your particular tool. Only then you would be able to use it. Like for my case, I don't think the stability, it has come. Sometimes it may take a longer time based on your data set. But here you see it has created some charts for you. Now you would argue, okay, very good. I asked the question, it gave me the result. What do I do now? You just click on one thing and it just adds that chart into your sheet. Okay. Rather than creating a pivot table and then a chart from that pivot table, you just asked a question and it created a chart for you. Okay. That is the power of AI. And that is the reason I've been telling from the start that you need to know how to use these AI capabilities inside your Power. Now, this is exactly what I meant when I said AI has the capabilities of making your work easier in terms of implementation, in terms of visualization also. So what we can do in our particular project is we can go ahead and create separate pivot tables, small pivot tables like these, and then create a pivot chart. Similarly, another pivot table, a pivot chart, another pivot table, and a pivot chart, and so on. I have created 5 different pivot tables and I'm able to create a pivot chart. Let me just see if I'm able to create the chart now or not. So if I type now, okay, entering. So what I have written is I want the total amount and the count of order ID by month. Okay, this is what I have written. And if you see, it has created this pivot table for me. If I click on insert pivot table, it has created this particular pivot table for me. I did not do anything to create this particular pivot table. This is exactly the same pivot table that I created here manually, and here in a new sheet, it has gone ahead and created those pivot table for me. So now I can go ahead and create that pivot chart, or else I can again ask this analyze data to create a chart for me also. Like for example, let me show you another example. Now here what I have done in this particular table, I've created this pivot table. For every gender, give me the sum of the amount. And then I have created a pie chart for that. Okay. What I'll do is, I'll not do that. I'll just ask Excel to do that. So if I just click on this, see, AI has done that for you. You haven't created the table. You haven't created the chart. Rather, AI has done that for you. So that is the reason knowing AI K-pilot capabilities have become very, very easy, important, and should be a part of your portfolio. I don't think I can emphasize more on this side, but this is actually a very, very important skill to know. But again, just a disclaimer, don't think that I will know this and that's it. You need to know the foundations, and then you need to know this as well, so that if you know that, you'll be able to do validate this part, and maybe you can save your time in this whole process. Okay. Similarly, I've created 2 charts. It is very, very important here to give the right prompt. If you don't give the right prompt, AI will give you, I don't know what kind of result. And that is the reason, while you know AI, I've covered that in a lot of detail in my bootcamp in terms of what is ChatGPT, what is Gen AI, what is prompt engineering, what kind of prompt you should give to get accurate result. But just for now, on a very high level, if I will not give the right prompts here, I will not get the correct result. Okay, that is, I would say, a good or a bad part of this particular feature. But you need to be very specific in understanding what you need. And as specific you will be, AI will be able to understand what exactly do you need. Okay. So similarly, you can go ahead and create all of these. Don't worry about this particular part of the project, folks. You will get this project. Focus your time on understanding rather than will I get this data set or not. You will get this. You can add this as part of your project also. And if you want to add more and more such projects in your resume, you know the bootcamp link is in the chat. Okay. So I created these individually different, what do we say? Visuals, and finally just copy pasted all of these into one page. Now this page shows me order versus sale, men versus women, order status, channels, gender, and top 10 sales. I have also added filters so that when someone clicks January, it only shows the January data. If someone clicks on a particular ethnic dress kind of category, it only shows me that. Okay. Now, what do we do as a data analyst? We have cleaned the data, transformed the data based on our KPI understanding. We have built this report also. Okay. Now, finally, what we'll do is we'll present this dashboard to our stakeholders, to our client, to our managers, that this is the analysis that I have done. Now, you can take measures, you can take decisions for your next sale or for your next year revenue increase based on what happened last year. So you can see that if you are women, like for example, I can see that on gender basis, women are buying more products than men. Then what I can do as a company is I can have targeted ads, can have targeted campaigns so that I can reach out to more women audience and have more products getting sold. Just one example. Now, how am I able to get to this decision? Because of the data analysis that a data analyst has done in the background. Okay. I cannot emphasize more on the importance of a data analyst here just by giving this example. Again, another example can be, you can see the top 10 states here. You can see Karnataka is the highest selling state in terms of the products. Okay. Now I know if Karnataka is the state where I'm getting most of my revenue, my analysis is this. My suggestion to the company would be, you need to have better supply chain, more warehouses, more delivery people in Karnataka, considering most of our customers buy in their particular state. So we would want to attract more customers from the same state so that we can increase our revenue. Similarly, I can go and see the bottom 10 states and understand in which states my sales are very low. In those cases, I can come up with suggestion that you can have more campaigns, more sales, more offline stores, maybe if that works in that particular state, so that revenue can be increased. Now, these are decisions which company make. Now, these decisions are always backed with such analysis which data analysts do. And that is why the job role data analyst is one of the most high paying role right now in the industry, one of the most in demanding also. And believe me when I say that it is one of the easiest role to crack. If you have n number of experience, you have a career gap, you are coming from a different domain, you do not have a tech experience, you are a fresher, whatever category you fall into, there have been a lot of my learners who have cracked roles with their efforts, with their hard work, irrespective of the background. Okay. So if you wanted to understand data analysis, the portfolio, the end-to-end cycle, here it is. Yeah, I just wanted to give you a walkthrough of one sample capstone project. Definitely, if you are able to implement this on your own, do go ahead and add it in your resume. And the cherry on the cake would be, now you just don't have an Excel project. You also know how to use AI and Copilot capabilities inside Excel to get answers to a lot of questions. Also, not only answers, you can create visuals, pivot tables, etc using just giving right prompts. And finally, copy pasting all the visuals in the form of a simple dashboard, which can give you analysis based on those 31,000 rows that you got initially. Now, those are not just 31,000 rows, those are in the form of this particular dashboard, which represents information about each and every KPI. Thank you so much for attending on this Sunday. Hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you in the coming classes or maybe in the coming free sessions. Lastly, the link is in the chat. I am closing this session. So if you're interested, copy it somewhere. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.